Welcome back to Indian Trace. We might have absolutely perfect light, and it's so important with natural rocks to have perfect light. What we're looking at is my top finds from April. And, it was a good month, but I'm really blown away because of the fact that, I put them in a certain bin separated from the ones that I've found so far in May. And then when the time is right, I take that bin and I transfer it into my organized display, or displays plural. But these finds here are my top finds from April, and I just wanted to give you a little tour of those, sort of a cleanup, and give you a good view of it. Now, I did find in April some really great hammerstones. This happens to be one from the clay pot. I'm not going to show them all at all. I just want to show a couple for those of you out there who just begin collecting or still learning, and every day I'm learning something as well. And I almost said it. I don't want to say Happy Memorial Day because it's a day of reflection, Thanksgiving, of memory. And I guess I'm happy for the sacrifice that our relatives, our bloodlines and family, brothers and fathers have made for us, a sacrifice for our freedom. For it's really one day before Memorial Day, but it's Memorial Day weekend. The video before this also makes mention of it, out at the isolation. I'm wondering, because the cortex of this hammerstone here, which is completely rubbed off here, right in the middle of many rocks, and it picks up again here. Of course, we have the indicative flat edges on a module. Now, these round quartz modules, they're in none of the creeks, none of the streams around here. There's no rocky cobble in any of the streams. So they're traded in. And when they're out there in the fields with this kind of stuff here, they go hand in hand. For those of you in Nap, you can tell me a lot about it. One side of these usually has a dimple, probably from some type of pressure flaking or something that they do. The other side is usually a streak down the middle, which is the cortex has been worn off. That's the cortex, if I get good light here in focus. And a little bit of cortex on the outside edge here. Of course, it's worn off the top. Stone is worn off the bottom. It's a big deal. It's a big deal stone, because this is something that they kept track of. The master, the maker of stone tools, of stone artillery, of stone projectile points for food, for their sustenance. So the master was responsible for making those, and he needed these in order to have a successful life, in order to survive. And that's the way the stories are told. So these stones are huge, important. If you find them, keep them, do something with them, organize them, display them. I don't get overwhelmed by them at all. I'm overwhelmed by a lot of points. I mean, I have a whole box behind me of, I guess, the totality of artifacts I found through April, but a lot of them are going out to the koi pond, which oscillates back and forth between giving away that stone. If you could hold these, they're all, and you see it fit in my hand, they're all, right there. Similar weight, density, material. And when you see them in a pile, like a couple of my videos showed, it's just an awesome repetition. You see something was going on. And it was an awesome thing that was going on. I would have loved to see the simple things. Where they kept it. Maybe, we have shelves. We have tool bins, that sort of things. Where do they keep these things? Do they have a pouch? Do they have a separate little box? A go-to place that they kept this, because they used it over and over and over and over again to make a whole bunch of these. Just great thoughts. Let's take these two middle ones first. Just some great stuff. Site 5E we're looking at there with those middle ones. And This is a peach-colored sugar quartz. Now the lighting to me seems perfect. We'll see after we analyze it. And I don't know how close I can get with a focus. Some of them I won't pick up. And then the next one, from the lookout, they relieved the back of that. That's exactly the way they wanted it. And it's not broken here. I've checked on that side, so very interesting point. I'm sure it did the job they needed it to. Don't think it was a blade, everybody. I do think it was a piercing. Hide piercing, cutting tip to an atlatl. We all have our theories, if you will. And this stuff, this is so resilient, sugar quartz. Once you get that on an atlatl and get it going, you're gonna be hard pressed to stop it with flesh, with ligaments, till it hits bone or something, or goes through vitals. And that's what it needed to do, man. If you needed to eat and you were hungry, I'm gonna tell you what, a deer was a good thing. Didn't matter what it was. Coyote was a good thing, whatever they needed to eat. And there's a whole lot, I don't need to stop there. Tons of great animals. Look at these. 3 on the bottom. Different types of Guilford. I've heard that called a Guilford stem, but it may not be. This is a Guilford. And it's not broken. There's complete patina on the back side of it. You can see the flat part of the rock, just the way the flake came off the rock. I think it happened to be there and they went with it. They knew the type of bases they were making. It's an area they made a lot of Guilford Yumas. But that's a fine point from the clay pot. A lot of these you might have caught on video. This is what they look like, all ready to go to display, I guess. Here's a nice point from 5E. Just quality Guilford craftsmanship in rhyolite. Man, where's the time going? Anyway, I wonder what you're all doing Memorial Day. I know a lot of you share your stories with me, things you're going through, things you're handling. Shout out if by chance you, Treasure Hunter for Life, are watching. I pray for you. I hope you're okay. I know suffering has been huge this last year and half a year. Many of you out there, whether it's Frank or Mike, the suffering has been huge in terms of your health. So I remember you today as well, but stirred up about the freedom we take for granted in the United States of America. As the video before this said, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion. I mean, in the United States of America, you have a right to worship anything you please. If you want to worship frogs, go right for it. Nobody's going to stop you. That's your freedom. Of course, I worship the one true and ever-living God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. And a lot of people, they might get vocal and say, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Well, one day you'll be able to tell him that face to face. And when you do, it's going to be a difficult day for you if you have the brass to tell him that. Because everything that we see in terms of creative expression, life, seed time and harvest, has a design behind it. That's an incredible big point, isn't it? You just have to ask yourself, who designed all this? From what mind did it all come from? Certainly not an accident. That is for sure. Look at this piece from Crystal Beach. I remember the day I found this. It was just a day that was hammering out points. Really one of those crazy days. It's a unique stem. That might be a Guilford stem. I don't know. I do know it's an ancient hunting point, and that's about all I need to know. Same with this thing. It could be a big Rowan. I don't know. Point from Site 5E, a little bit of a serrations. Near some bear tracks. Just floating around looking at some of this great display. I remember when I used to go through museums. I was carried through them by my folks when I was young, and probably didn't appreciate them like I needed to, but I looked at the things, and as of today, I couldn't even imagine owning or finding the stuff I saw in those museums myself, but now I own a bunch and find a bunch in this, in groups like this, that are just as good or better than what I saw in the museums. It's crazy. Blows my mind. And let's just keep going around the circle. I found an awesome point in the jump off. I really appreciate the comments. Everybody's comments. I try to get to them. Try to acknowledge them. This was a great point. It's just worked in every detail. Some of you get a good glimpse, and the comments are great. You like the come in and check out the points almost as if you could pick them up and check them out for yourself, and that's fine with me. I wish you could. Point from Site 4. Remember that? Some of you remember the finds. Here's a point from the Archaic. Of course, all this quartz is really translucent, where the rhyolite's not translucent at all. Everything is just worked off on this point. It's actually a really great quality point with a bit of a twist in it. It's a great threesome. A couple more and we're finished. If you've been able to handle it, or if you love stone, if you love ancient North American Indian hunting points, you'll like Indian Trace. If the feeds ever get to you, make sure you do check out, if you have the courage, the political interest links. I put things that I believe will educate and liberate. Is that a hard way? I don't know the names. I just pick them up along the way. I never try to really focus too much on them, but it could be. A lot of you guys know right away because you do know the names, and I give you credit for that. It's a great point. But political interest links are on here, and excuse me, I go through a bunch in order to find a couple that are decent, that I feel are credible to post. And then I leave it at that. Leave it in God's hands. Look at this piece. Nice quartz. Relieved off the back. Serrated. It's a good news point, right? Good stuff. Anyway, a little bit quiet, a little bit easy, just coming in and enjoying some of these points. It reminds me of when I used to go through, and I mean from here to California. I've been to just about every single national park that there is, which is good, including the Native American Indian stuff, which my parents helped me appreciate, began my interest in them. Then living with the Navajo in New Mexico. It's been a great journey. A great journey. Appreciate you tuning in to Indian Trace, everybody. And that right there is a good look at April's top finds. Hope you find out there. Be well.